welcome to this very captivating game today, where we have some very notable players playing in the anti-canyon position. On our team is TFC Hyaji, very high ranked 55 OS, always got some inventive plays, and it's going to try something today that's very inventive. We're backed here by Horndry, who's also a super duper solid player. Very happy with the team overall. We've got Mr. Elusive, Docs, Harm, recognise all these players apart from Boel and Purple Panda, but I'm sure they're going to do their best over here in the canyon. On the opposing team we've got, and I might mispronounce this, it's Tissera. I'm going to have to Google this. We'll call it T-Dog. T-Dog is basically the opposition North team with some good players. Got Neo here, Spooky Dookie, a very veteran player here, Sockdone left, and Sweet Sacrifice, Cruisface, some others. So yeah, a very heavy duty team we're up against. Fairly balanced. I think they've got the edge in experience though. We can see just all experienced players. Where over here we've got Boel, not so experienced. But I'd say Hyaji is a super experienced player. Maybe it's Hyaji's second account. I don't know. It's just better than the rest of us. So fairly even overall. Let's see how this plays out. To be honest with you, I'm thinking with Hyaji and Horndry we've won this. But it's never that simple, of course. I'm going to try to give a really good look at what everyone's doing, because I want to watch this replay properly myself, just to see how the hell this all eventuated. It was a really funny game, probably one of the best games I've ever played, and it's just had some real bizarre events in it. We're starting off here with early ticks, getting shut down by Tadar's blitzers. But of course the blitzers can't be everywhere at once. It is going to actually intercept. Oh, very close. Look at how quick it gets away from this blitz. Ah, headed off the tick aggression. Nope, they spin back around. Just goes through the blitz, but straight into the commander. So was spotted. We've got two coming here from TFC Hyaji. Two rovers. Is going to face off against a construction turret. And I think that's going to be the undoing of the rover. Just not enough heft behind the rover. Early on, we're shutting down also some pretty early aggression. I don't think Canyon is bothered at all. We see another push here from Hyaji. Got a little bit of success, so trying again. That would be a good capture if they could take down this construction vehicle, but no, just following on through to the mix. Up against grave robbers. Oh, what a find. Some limited damage, but honestly it's not bad for this tiny contribution of forces, and the overproduction, I would say, of incisors to deal with all this aggression. One rover left going to come through right into T-Dog's base. All eaten up, but took down two mexes, so not too bad. And we can see that super duper value of the early aggression actually being worth it. If you've got the APM for it, of course. Hyaji, all the while doing this aggression, is sort of coding this mega eco play. This is quite a ridiculous eco play for the 5 minutes. Pretty much everything's up and's got the 3.2 mechs. Got the two Yanis here, which are extremely broken. But the incisors are going to actually take down a Yanis. Saved by the commander. Hyaji was just a little bit out of place. Attempted run by here of the grunts around the 5 minute mark. Ah, it's an exchange. Holy hell. We're going to have a face off between Hyaji and Tadar over these corpses. Tadar is going to be basically exploded by the looks of it. Tadar is not long for this world. Oh no, that's it. Done. Hyaji got three commanders to suck up all the metal of. I don't think we'll be able to take all the metal. Okay, sending some metal back to Horndry. Really good start for the team right away. I wondered why Hyaji was giving away the metal. Well, that explains it. Even I got some metal, so that's going to help us out early on with our build, perhaps. Me doing my tech thing. So some pretty good micro just with basically Janices and that's it. Although we do see one Whistler here, I believe, for vision. Which is a pretty pro move. I just tend to pack a lot more Whistlers, and some AA of course. I just tend to pack a lot more Whistlers just because they're so annoying and easy to micro with their long range. But the true firepower of that arrangement is the Janus. There's no worries about that. So we see more from Horndry. I think signature leaking ticks. Just, it's a real pressure move of putting the opposition on the back foot. Okay, so Sweet Sacrifice in the anti-canyon position is doing a tremendous job pushing forward with Stouts and Januses. So another Janus abuser. Got one Whistler here for basically vision. Oh, survives the Janus barrage. Fending off with one tank. Knows it's doomed. The worst possible thing to do against this force though is to just send one against it at a time. This is a better spread here. And then we see the Shurikens coming in to finally shut it down. Now that Whistler's gone. That's why it's helpful to have a few more Whistlers. Haji's doing a similar sort of method of dismantling the canyon. Time worn by now to use Januses. And really, that's why you got to fight fire with fire. I know canyons don't like to do it, I don't know why. But the only way to fight this sometimes is with other Januses. Hyaji is otherwise occupied. We see T-Dog from the north, the red, moving down on the vehicle plant here. Mr. Elusive got the breakthrough. I think Mr. Elusive blew up their own plant maybe and died. So that was a very elusive thing to do and confusing. So everyone's losing at the moment, and I'm certainly losing it myself. Because I'm over here just trying to be a happy tech, give everyone their T2 on time, be paid or not. Floating some metal, but not necessarily in a position to respond super duper fast with only 2 con turrets. Harm's base is harmed. This is not good. The only thing left are the solar collectors who no one could be bothered killing, but it's going to enable Harm to get back on their feet fairly fast with those still up and going. So Haji had to stop basically demolishing Canyon to control the collapsed front line here. Our whole front is absolutely collapsed. At this time of great need, we are building, of course, a reactor. But I need to get through this metal I'm floating. We're also producing, a welder, a gunslinger, these sort of units to help out. Sweet Sacrifice, just doing a stellar job with this combo. It's a very powerful combo. It's got the Stout's tankiness together with the Janus one-shot ability. Pretty much tripling down on the Stouts though, but hasn't learnt from the AA experience and brought enough Whistlers. Or missile trucks, that class of vehicle. Although we might actually see Canyon go down at any second. The front itself is collapsing too. T-Dog's got some spiders out. Beautiful stuff. Okay, we finally see Sweet Sacrifice learning and being a bit more dynamic and overcoming air quite easily. I don't know why, just from the commander I think building some AA. Generally Shurikens are not very high hit points or very easily countered with a decent push. And we also see these ticks coming in, moving fast. Our canyon's collapsing. This is quite horrific. Our front line's collapsing. The enemy canyon is strong. What's T-Dog doing with the spiders? Just sort of skirmishing. Effectively, they've got a very long range. The Shuriken have been endless from Dox Myabi. Doing the best they can, but you need a lot of them to be effective. Particularly when you've got the commander, sort of sniping them out. The commander himself is getting sniped, I think, at this position. Too far forward and pays the price. Should have been back where the guards were. Got maybe a little bit greedy. We'll see these guard towers go with the bombers. I would have built a nettle here as well. But there you go. Purple Panda's got an interesting defensive position, has been left with this whole sort of canyon side where the mountains are being, I suppose, porked up. Okay, a push with Fiends and Recluses right into Hayaji's commander. Is it going to work? I think it is. Even Hayaji goes down. Wow. T-Dog's on the front line overviewing this with glee. We've got a counter back from Horndry though, who has actually taken over this base. We've had a couple of levers. We've had a lever in Canyon and a lever on our front here. And this counter-attack is quite gruesome. A lot of Jaguars. Yeah, and takes down T-Dog's commander. It was just been a little bit too forward. Purple Panda reestablishing control in the Canyon. Not everything is dead yet. Over here, we've had to give away a couple of units, I think, to re-establish this control. Yeah, so these hounds we've provided, and Gunslinger. I'm sure Welder's in there somewhere to someone. I think maybe to harm, I'm not too sure. But we had to do something because we were just getting handled at that point. Good response here from Yellow, who has got the ticks out against the hounds. But there's only so many ticks, and then it will be into their base. Excellent aggression actually here from Purple Panda. It's always a bit of a worry when you give away units, but Purple Panda has taken their duties responsibly and is aggressing, you know, despite the chance of this run by, which we see right now, unfortunately. Sweet Sacrifice coming down with an even larger group of ticks. Purple Panda realises this as the sole responsible Canyon and is going to move to intercept. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough. Over on this side, we actually have Horndry moving forward with this massive force. Really pushed back on T-Dog efficiently, and these are going to come down and take out some wind turbines. But there's enough units produced, enough grunts to push back on that, and that's always the best counter to any sort of tick push is a heap of grunts, in an emergency situation of course. Wow, T-Dog's really taken down by that counterattack. Yeah, so it's a back and forth game. Our Canyon's down, but their red is down. Tremendous aggression. Air coming in to test Spooky Dookie. And we see now Hyaji has a free hand. He's going to come in and see what they can do. Getting pushed back by these Tigers from Chrisface. T2, it's not so easy to start rolling Canyon at this point once they get established units up. Particularly the quality of the Tiger. Fortunately for T-Dog, they've had their base pretty much up on the front line, so at least their Tech 2 is still there, and we'll salvage this push on them. Although 28 metal a second isn't a lot, they are at least floating some metal. The continual aggression from Horndry is definitely working, and the whole team is basically having to respond to this aggression. We see some units given to Red. I think we're going to see Horndry finally shut down, using the mass Jaguars very effectively to dismantle and then get away. And that's one thing about the Jaguars, they work really well when you've got sort of like more than 5 of them. But less than that, they sort of start losing their amazing effect. Although Horndry, you know, still got them alive. We see a run by here coming down from Chrisface right into the base of Hyaji. Blows up the bull. This is a very effective push. We've got Tadar as well. So Canyon's basically, because they haven't been pressured enough, just because of the emergencies we've been facing, they've been able to basically respond in the absolute best way possible in the super duper run by. I think we're going to be able to shut that down. No, Tigers, they got too close. They're getting eaten up. We see a emergency pit bull here. Running into the beam of defences. Wow. Just enough at the last moment to stop utter annihilation. Although Hyaji is, funnily enough, sitting at about 56 metal a second, 185. Yeah, Hyaji's just a magician. Unreal. Obviously reclaiming some metal, but it's totally floating and will need to rebuild their base as quickly as possible. Over on our side, we've had to provide some T2 units, a significant amount, so we're a little bit far behind. So we're going actually into 5 reactors for just some reason. I seem to be doing it lately. Oh, we see this push forward. Big bombing run. Strategic bombers as well. Going to be shut down maybe before they hit the base? No, maybe not. Took down the construction power. Will it take down the advanced bot lab? It does survive. Of course, the energy converters do not. Oh, and the windmill farm here doesn't either. From the crashing bombers, it does more damage than the bombs themselves. Nothing unusual in that regard. On our side, our poor team, we're using T1 bombers on the front line. That's what we've been forced to do. T-Dog is basically, as soon as they get some forces up, are coming forward with them. A nice little offensive heap of Jaguars and Fiends. Very nice mix, actually. Our bomber force will be possibly the only thing attacking this timely. And that disappears. A very nice move in from the bombers there. On the other side, we've got this rundown from the Anti-Canyon Sweet Sacrifice, continually pressuring Purple Panda, who's doing a magnificent job. I got nothing. The T1 bombers being sort of the last line of defence. I actually see the enemy using gunships on the front line will be pushed back by the AA. At this time, we've just managed to start producing some Marauders around the 21-minute mark. Again, just a never-ending lot of aggression from this side, and finally we'll push through. Actually, I'm surprised by this. Just the never-ending pressure would just caught us by surprise. And this is what happens with never-ending pressure, is you only need one mistake, and look, they come through, they kill your construction power, they kill your power overall. We pretty much see at this time all the power killed from Purple Panda, so our canyon's dead. Ouchie. Purple Panda is going to have to continually deal by themselves with no economy with Sweet Sacrifice forces. I don't really know if that's possible, but we do see some Wasps at this time, and that should be enough to cover Canyon, one would think. Until Sweet Sacrifice brings in some serious AA. Now we're seeing Hyaji tech into T2 with some Bulls, and we see Horndry working together with some Starlights. These Bulls are good to push up back on the Jaguars. The Jaguars still manage to mostly kill the Bulls, but I think Bulls are a better unit to trade. And we've won that little skirmish without the Starlights being sacrificed, so that's a win for our team. We have the Marauders here coming through the canyon at this time, just to stop this all from collapsing and falling in on our sides. A push is going to be stopped here from a combination of Wasps and Neo, the enemy tech, moving forward with their Razorbacks. I'm also doing my build, which I've talked about, which is the double Aphis Razors, and we're doing the Marauder build, so there you go. But we've got to apply some pressure around this time, and we were a little bit behind, so the Marauders are filling in for that. Going in a little bit of an expensive push forward here, but I am able to take down some Starlights. We're just trying to push back a little bit and stop Sweet Sacrifice, I suppose, bullishness when it comes to attack after attack. Let's see if that works. I think Sweet Sacrifice is going to continue no matter what we do. We move across now out of the canyon to see if there's any more opportunities and to meet up with our other Marauders. But we're going to transition over to Razorbacks backed by Vanguards for siege breaking. You know, for instance, here we're seeing a lot of pork come up quite far. And the canyon could do with a Vanguard or two in it to basically guerrilla fight against these forces from Sweet Sacrifice. At the same time, Dox Mayabi is coming in with a pretty big attack of just fighters at the moment, but I will be followed up by the T1 bombers, still at the 25-minute mark, 22 of them, which is enough to actually exact a very heavy toll. And as long as the air war is completely won, which it is, we will see all these construction turrets go down. Didn't target the Aphis, just gone straight for the construction turrets. Very interesting. The T1 bombers, of course, not doing the same sort of damage, so can't necessarily reliably kill an Aphis. Goes over, rather than sits on the AI, goes over to the enemy canyon trying to target the energy converters. Misses them all. Oh no, eventually gets one. We will see a swing back to these T2 energy converters, perhaps. No, leaving it for the moment. And trying on the next base, although we'll get targeted by the AA and take down some construction power. We see these actually new bombers come up. They've just been sent over from our side, just a consistent lot of bombers. So I was targeting the enemy air's construction power just to keep up this endless aggression of bombers. A very interesting tactic, but didn't quite take down all the air power. Somehow Purple Panda is actually hanging on. Oh, at this time, I think I've handed over the Marauders to Horndry. And Horndry's actually pushed up here and done a significant amount of damage to this base. We've missed that with our look at our bombers. So we're having to come in and basically send the Razorbacks over to Purple Panda yet again, who's only just getting their economy up and going and their production. So it was a very good use to actually hand this over to Horndry, who knew where the weak spot was for the Marauders to go. Very good at exploiting any weak spots, just like the Tigers are on a run-by basis, being able to even wander through a combination of Pitbulls, survive, and live to do another day's worth of damage. But we do see Hyaji produce quite a number of T1 units to basically push back on this, and the Shurikens are still alive and will come in from Dox Myabi to shut that down super quick. We've got this push here in from Yellow, who's been told don't basically bleed metal. I think that's been a mistake perhaps. Could have maybe came into Pressure Canyon, would have been better rather than running into the Pork. But there you go, they're just trying to do what their teammates want them to do. Always better to play your own game. I think if you're risk adverse and don't want to donate metal, you'll never attack enough and apply pressure. So does your attack do enough? Sometimes it's not. Walking obviously into these defense would have been bad. But I think Canyon is ripe for the continual pressure with the lack of defences there. And we're not seeing that. That's the first real big mistake we're seeing from the enemy team, the North team, giving up on the Canyon. So we were hoping to sort of push back on Sweet Sacrifice's endless aggression, and I think that's happened just with our T3 filtering in. I've also provided just a few, because I was producing them for some reason, a few of these Marauders. I've given them over to Purple Panda. So hopefully should have the gumption to keep up the defensive Canyon for a little bit. Us ourselves, we're putting our Vanguards onto the different walls of the Canyon. They're pretty much impossible to attack apart from other Vanguards, and they will just continually bother and attrit on the enemy forces from afar. And we can see right away hitting this North Pork base. Our Razors are here just behind this hill ready to respond, because I don't want to push into this too quick. I want them to come forward as far as they can. We now see this conjoined attack, and we're going to push back now. Running into all this Pork, the advantage is totally ours. This is the second big mistake. They have actually donated all the metal when they could have come into the Canyon and supported the Sweet Sacrifices push here. Okay, we are seeing this Starlight actually push back on the Vanguard, but somehow missing. The Starlight comes in to support this attack and Sweet Sacrifice rather than heading down to attack this force here. Doesn't look like it's going to work at all. So the North team actually at this time wants to resign, which I find rather bizarre, just because the attack didn't go as planned. Let's just pause here quickly amidst all the chaos and confusion and just to quickly have a look at the metal produced. We've definitely got the lead here in damage dealt and metal produced, but it's certainly been a back and forward game. Actually, what's quite funny is we've got the lead in actions per minute and we've got 2 less players, like by quite a margin. That's unreal. And I'm not helping out the situation because I'm sitting on about 28 APM because I'm tech and I'm giving away my units. Yeah, I'm more just trying to do the right thing at the right time rather than sort of mindlessly click too much. I'll let other people do that job. Horndry's also got some Vanguards and making great use of them, likewise climbing up the wall. We have this Thor from T-Dog and Razorback just about take us out. It is going to get stopped, I think. You can't stop a Thor. They're just immovable sacks of lard till they're eventually brought down. Vanguard's doing what they do best, which is sniping grunts. This Vanguard intermittently has been firing at this base, however, and handling the Pork. Neo is complaining quite rightfully that they are alone in doing the attack, but gets reprimanded again for feeding metal, which I'd have to say this Vanguard this far forward is feeding metal. But once you're committed to the attack, you're committed. The Pulsars make quick work of that. So we see pretty much the non-rainbow lane, which is interesting, containing both Horndry and Hyaji being beaten up on, which is again playing into our strength. And the reason for this, I'll tell you why it is psychologically, but this is the vulnerable side. All of this could be porked up because their canyon's still working right, and they could have just funneled endless pressure through the canyon here and we would have collapsed. Instead, they're pressing on our lines here. The reason they're doing that is just this endless aggression actually from Horndry, which just naturally turns into battles back and forth. And also, you've got aggressive red here, who can't produce both static defenses and units because they got their base wiped out, remember? Or mostly. So is just concentrating on units and applying that pressure. And is then getting supported by Canyon, but it's playing into our team's strengths. A defensive strategy would have actually been better here. Pretty much all of this game, the north side tech is going to have the advantage on us. So we can see this abundance of units here, and them really trying to rule the game at this time. Whereas us, we're just sort of very conservative. Economy-wise, we see a pretty big economy from Hyaji, despite all the hardships. And actually not that big an economy out of Horndry, which has just been endless aggression. I take that back, we're seeing about 700 metal a second at the moment, so I'm not sure what's going on. I think they must be reclaiming. That's crazy. But at least Hyaji is reclaiming, because the north team is sending a lot of wrecks our way and feeding us. And the one guy you don't want to feed is Horndry. That guy is fed enough. Okay, so our Vanguard here eventually did get sniped. Sweet sacrifice, responding to Vanguards and a bit more of a siege breaker play to try and handle this force from Purple Panda. Horndry says, Hyaji, can you defend me for a few minutes? I think we're going to see some sort of move from Horndry, maybe an eco move. Enemy air coming in to handle us. Bombing this Titan, which is rather funny. Titan gets taken down. That's Horndry's Titan. What you doing making Titans, Horndry? Wow. Actually bombed a Titan to death. Okay, this push from Neo, the enemy tech. Going to just walk through our pawn-based army here from Hyaji. An excellent matchup. Hyaji retreats, as Hyaji should. We've got a Vanguard here sniping, doing a marvellous job, but isn't going to shut down the Vanguard super quick at all. I start to move forward. But I'm trying to just play a little bit conservative. I don't want to attrit any of my forces. I'm well aware that perhaps the enemy tech has got the lead. Though we do see a reasonable matchup on the screen, and I'm not seeing too many starlights or anything. But still, Horndry actually requests it, and I give it over to Horndry because they're going to have their eyes on the front much more, whereas mine is going to be back and forth between the base and front. I don't necessarily have Horndry's APM. Okay, with this latest Razor attack, we do see the north team is very depressed. Oh wow, okay, a Suicide Commander pretty much takes down all the forces from us. But I think we're going to be able to break through actually. Maybe not. No, we see all these snipers here. Nope. So the Razors are shut down rather quickly. That's why I was keeping them back. But I'm glad we moved forward. At least we took down one body. Push forward also with the Vanguards, but not going to be enough. I push forward with the Vanguards also. Just trying to snipe what we can. Jeez, they take out a decent chunk of T1 forces, don't they? We've also got this push from Harm, the Mammoth push. We see more Razors, got a Titan here, and we've got the Vanguards and Mammoths. A combined arms push right into the Pork, even the hero pulses of Tadar. Pork is deceptively heavy. Even the Titan is surprised and trying to escape, won't escape. But the Vanguard's got in position and will continue to bombard and attrit the enemy anti-T3. We've got one Razor that's sort of pushed through. I don't think it's going to have enough in it to do any damage. Nope. On our side, our Vanguards are continuing to sort of dominate the canyon. And we've got a couple of Razorbacks here too to stop this spam. See a very high arc of attack from the Vanguards. So really quite bogged down at the moment, with each team not able to break through the defences at the 38-minute mark. But let's admit it, our team is going well. We should have been goners by now. Sweet Sacrifice with another Razorback, easily handling these T1 forces. We're going to push back with Razorback of our own. Yeah, in fact, we're not really seeing the pork we should be seeing. So I think we're going to actually push forward here. We're going to push forward, see what damage we can do, at least to what pork here remains, which is mainly this pulsar. I see some construction turrets, we go for it, but I think the snipers are going to be able to stop us. Having to come over into this lane, and we open this up for some aggression down the right hand side. So we've found one little weak spot in the anti-cannon, with Sweet Sacrifice being so consistently attacking. Unfortunately, I think we do see a nuke go off in our front line here, just outside of our AN, so we are vulnerable to some well-placed nukes. So the Battle of the Canyon commences. Once again, our Razorbacks should shut this down. We've got enough of an economy for it, but neither of us are going too crazy with the eco. We just know that the pressure we exert right away is more critical for the team. TFC Hyaji pushes forward very effectively with a few T3 they have saved up, an overwhelming amount. Yeah, and finally we're starting to see the days done, I think, of Canyon. Although one Tachyon Accelerator Pulsar is still up. Yeah, the push is endless here, but I think it's just going to get shut down into Canyon. So a push now right on the base. Corner player Tadar, who's been very troublesome actually, and has been punching above their weight on 22 APM, is taken out, giving as good as Tadar got, which is no small achievement against Hyaji and Horndry on that anti-canyon side. But that's how pressed our whole team is. Our Razorbacks, however, have our canyon well in hand. Okay, so we see this big attack coming in from Dox Mayavi. Maybe the enemy are just taking their eyes off the ball for one moment, and disaster ensues. So excellent, 42-minute mark. Having a really good amount of strategic bombers to come in. We don't see critical damage done actually. Okay, just the con turrets. Oh no, of course the afterglow of the bombing run. Look at those Aphises. Wow. That's why Aphises should always be targeted, because they are actually so vulnerable, particularly once being subjected to that energy converter explosion. But at this time, we're going to counterattack and see what we can do, because they're being pressed on all sides, having to deal with too much all at once. And so we're going to try this run by down on the extreme right hand side. And we see that AFK player just away for just a small amount of time, change teams I believe twice, and respond just a little bit too late, and we're able to sneak down at that time. So if anything was a morale loss caused by Air and Hyaji's push in tandem, of course the enemy team was already on the ropes when their attacks didn't succeed. Very hard to come back from that when you just about had won the game and sort of then all the attacks fail. So we've just managed to put up with that and I think push forward and win the game. We're going to see this base go down now. Up here, our Razorbacks are going to take down these wounded Aphises pretty quick, and I think that's about it. Hyaji was starting to make their way in. It all comes unstuck. Okay, Hyaji says OP carry Horndry. I believe that would be right, because Horndry took down 2 bases and, yeah, it was very effective. So apart from me just coming in the end and sniping some Aphis, so I don't really deserve that title, Horndry practically done everything. I think Hyaji was definitely runners-up. Basically, the only thing I was runner-up was being a traitor. I was playing the game to the best of my ability. Harm was very active on the front line here, but we see Horndry and Hyaji basically carried us in terms of APM, getting around that 80 APM amount, which is just massive. Harm done quite a good job there in the rainbow lane, and obviously we didn't die, so hats off to Harm putting up with that. Dox Mayabi, excellent air game. These stats are actually phenomenal for an air. even at the 43-minute mark, because just the way it is. This is a very high amount of damage dealt, let's put it this way, and damage taken, mind you. So Dox Mayabi, a very active player from Air. Purple Panda, of course, a miraculous amount of damage dealt and received, considering the fact they got their base blown up relatively in the mid game. So continued up with it on 53 APM, clicking like a madman. We done okay using our T3. We gave away a lot of units, of course, but I was pretty happy with that. The eco was okay. We were just supporting, and of course that was all we had really of our team. Mr. Elusive maybe a little bit unlucky in that duel early on and bowl, so gave up the ghost. And we see here in the end 10 and 9 actions per minute, so I'm not sure how that factors in. I guess it averages it out against the whole game. But yeah, we were up against some very difficult foes in T-Dog, in Neo as the enemy tech, as Sweet Sacrifice, Tadar, all excellent players. Yellow, Sockdone left was playing really well. Spooky Dookie I thought played quite well. Chris Face, excellent player. Even Luitas here on 24 APM, I noticed them on the front line all the time and was given as good as they took. Pretty much evenly, everyone got beaten up on and done the damage as best they could. And actually outproduced us in metal, which I find bizarre. But I think it was the fact their Canyon just stayed alive quite a lot longer than our Canyon. So had every advantage available to them, had pretty much the game won, and then we managed to sort of hang in there. Our whole team responded really well. But that's what 6 players working together against 8 players who may not quite be working together can actually do for a game. Alright, thanks very much for watching. I had super fun with it. I love being in these higher OS lobbies. I hope you guys enjoy it too. Seen the best of Bar. Not always, because quite often I'm in noob lobbies, just the lobbies that are open, and sometimes that's the game that interests me, and that's what I'll cast to you guys. So if you enjoy it and want to support the channel, leave a like, comment, or subscribe. Be very, very grateful, and see you next video.